going to be Tori Firth, one of the shining stars so far of United softball early in their season, and she's off to a great start. Tori, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We
Yes, thank you
definitely
for having me.
Tori, first and foremost, you got to talk about these wins against Lisbon, because we know going into it, this was going to be a big 2-game series, and you guys emphatically took care of it and took a hold of it. Talk to me about the mentality going into this game and what you saw from your team and what you saw from yourself production-wise.
We knew coming into this year that we had much higher expectations than we did last year. We know how last year's games against Lisbon went, and we were not happy. So we just had a lot of off-season work putting into this season, knowing that we were going to be better and pushing every minute of every game to try to do that.
You look at it, you get a new head coach in Matt Zines, and how much has he kind of contributed to this new culture? I don't want to say new culture, like you guys didn't have that drive last year, but this kind of new sense of a culture and a new sense of attitude on this team.
I actually started playing softball with Coach Matt. He was my 8U pitch coach. So he started instilling the love of softball really early in us as girls. And having him as a high school coach, he knows how we function and how we play and what we know. So he knows, he plays off of what we know already.
Talking about having him when you were younger too, what are some of the biggest things you've learned about yourself as a softball player, and maybe things that he taught you or that he may have told you when you were younger that you're realizing now that you're a little bit older, man, he was right?
All of the basics of softball and where I got my love of the game came from him. Like, without him and obviously my parents, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Let's talk about this love of the game. I mean, talk about your journey when it started. And what were some other contributions that made you fall in love with the sport of softball and made you pour so much energy into making yourself as good as you are now?
I was on my t-ball team in kindergarten, so I started out at the very young age of 5. And then at 8U, we transferred over to coach pitch softball. And then I was introduced to the lovely world of travel softball at 10 years old and have absolutely loved playing, watching all things softball ever since.
And in saying that, I got to ask, who are some of the role models in the softball world and realm that you want to shout out to? Maybe ones in college, maybe ones that played for United, just some that you've looked up to, and I don't want to say model yourself after, but ones that you kind of try to instill some of their play style in yours.
I grew up watching my sister, who's 8 years older than me, play all sorts of sports, and would come to her softball games, would love to sit there and watch. And then also, my 8th grade year, Annie Patterson played here at United, and she was phenomenal. And she's over in college now playing and is very successful.
When you think about being able to watch your sister like that, how many lessons did she teach you on how to carry yourself in a softball field, how to lead a team, and just how to have that work ethic that you have?
She has taught me so much just on and off the field, being just a well-rounded person in general. Without her, I don't know where.
Looking at the United community too, it's obviously one that has so much support too, especially for the girls' side of athletics. Talk to me about the importance of playing for the Golden Eagles has been for you, and what it means to ultimately wear that United across your chest.
In the United community, we have so many different people that are just willing to do no matter what for anybody. We have a lot of fans at our games that have nobody playing in them that they're there for. They are genuinely there to support the entire team. And it's amazing to be a part of the United community.
We always talk about softball, baseball, both being mental grinds, and you have to be able to kind of handle failure. I'm sure there was some point in your softball career where you went into a hitting slump, or maybe, your pitches weren't being commanded the way you wanted them to be. What kind of keys or what kind of routines do you do to keep yourself kind of up during the valleys that we know that softball can bring you?
I just have to remember mentally that I just have to go back to what I know best and that every pitch is a new pitch. It doesn't matter what happened on the last one or the last 10. Every pitch is brand new.
Talk about some of your favorite memories you've had with the sport of softball. It could be within the game, and it could even be some that are outside of the game, or maybe just some bus rides or just sometimes with teammates as well.
Last season, we had an awesome game against Beaver Local at their house. It was such a close game all the way through. We went 7 innings, and it was tied. We went up on the upside and just had to go out and hold them. Every pitch of that game counted for something, and it was awesome to see the amount of teamwork that was put into that game.
Ty brings up a good point that there are so many things in a softball team that go on outside of the softball field to build chemistry and build relationships with your teammates. What are some of your favorite team bonding exercises that you've done with this team to really build relationships around the program?
Last year, we did a couple really good team bonding exercises, and my favorite by far probably has to be the blindfolded puzzle. So you get with a partner, and one person is going to be the guide, and the other person has to put the blindfold on and put the puzzle together based off how your teammate is telling you to rotate and put the pieces.
That's insane too. There's a lot of communication
Right.
to teach in that one as well. Talk to me about just going into this this community and just playing softball in this community. It's obviously one of the more supportive ones too. So in saying that, who have been some of your favorite teachers at the United School too that have kind of inspired you or influenced you outside of the realm of softball?
Having Coach Zines as a coach very young on, we also had his wife, Coach Stacy Zines, and she is a teacher at United and is always there for us, any of us girls, when we need her. She genuinely cares for each of us like we are her daughter as well.
As a student athlete, what are some of the subjects that you like to learn about and that you find the easiest to kind of navigate throughout your high school career?
Since growing up, I've always been a science kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in chemistry right now, and I love all science.
Do you kind of get into the sports science then of the softball and get into behind the scenes of that and the whole why things work the way they work in the sport?
A lot of how softball works, it's unexplainable, but it is very fun to dive deep into that.
What's been your, since we're on this topic, what's been your favorite thing that you've kind of learned about softball that comes into like a deep dive that's like people wouldn't know about it unless they really dove into the sport?
Basically, we love to look at mental game. So knowing how your brain works, and the more you think about something, the more you're going to psych yourself out. Right. So just thinking everything is fine, you're going to do perfectly fine. Every pitch is brand new. That's the best way to go about things.
Talking about the unpredictability of the sport, like you mentioned too, I have to ask, does that come with any superstitions that you have for the sport then? And just wondering, is there some sort of different magic going on with this sport right now if I don't do this or if I do this?
My warm-up for games is exactly the same every single time.
Go through it then. What's the warm-up then? What's the warm-up?
Me being a pitcher, I like to hit first so that I can throw and do all of my throwing at the same time. So I do my normal tee work, and then I get with my catcher, who usually is Brio Rose. We then throw, and then we do the same pitch rotation to warm up with every week.
All right. Tori, before we let you go, we like to give every athlete the chance to kind of thank their support system, the people that are there for them and the people that have been there for them throughout their career. So I want to give you the time to shout out the people that you wouldn't be who you are without.
I would just like to give the biggest thank you to my mom and dad if it had not been for them seeing how much I loved this sport at a very young age, without them putting all the time and money that they have into the world of softball for me, I definitely would not be anywhere where I am at today.
Tori, thank you so much for joining us today. We love covering you. I mean, look at your numbers. We'll go over them after you're off the show, but these numbers that you're putting up so far are incredible. We can't wait to cover you the rest of the season. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yes, thank you.